every rule that made Charlie Munger a billionaire. Charlie Munger did not become extraordinary by chasing excitement. He became extraordinary by building a way of thinking that was unusually rational, durable, and resistant to error. While most people look for shortcuts, Munger looked for principles that kept working for decades. His success was not the product of one idea. It was the product of a set of rules that reduced stupidity, improved judgment, and allowed compounding to do the heavy lifting. 1. Avoid stupidity instead of chasing brilliance. Most people think success comes from being smarter than everyone else. Munger believed that, in many cases, success comes more from consistently avoiding foolish decisions than from making brilliant ones. This sounds simple, but it is far more profound than it first appears. A person can have a high IQ and still ruin their life through arrogance, impulsiveness, overconfidence, greed, envy, or bad judgment. Munger understood that many disasters are self-inflicted. People destroy themselves through bad marriages, bad debt, bad partnerships, bad investments, bad habits, and bad emotional reactions. So instead of obsessing over how to become a genius, he focused on how not to be an idiot. That mindset changes everything. It turns life into a game of elimination. Instead of asking, what brilliant move should I make? You start asking, what obvious mistake should I avoid? That question is often more valuable. In investing, this means avoiding businesses you do not understand, avoiding overpaying, avoiding leverage that can wipe you out, and avoiding the emotional urge to follow crowds. In life, it means avoiding destructive habits, unreliable people, and situations where one mistake can permanently damage your future. The beauty of this rule is that it is available to almost everyone. You do not need extraordinary talent to avoid stupidity. You need humility, patience, self-awareness, and discipline. Over time, a person who avoids major mistakes can outperform someone far more talented who keeps sabotaging himself. Munger's edge was not that he made magical decisions every week. His edge was that he built a life around not stepping on obvious landmines. 2. Patience beats activity. Patience beats. Modern culture rewards movement. People want to feel busy, active, and involved. They think progress must look like constant motion. Munger believed the opposite. He understood that activity is not the same thing as achievement. In investing, many people lose money because they cannot sit still. They trade too much, react too quickly, and constantly feel the urge to do something. Munger recognized that the highest return decision is often inaction. If you already own something exceptional, the intelligent move may be to leave it alone. This principle also applies far beyond investing. In business, many leaders make bad acquisitions or chase expansion too early because they want action. In careers, people hop from one opportunity to another without giving any path enough time to mature. In personal growth, people switch methods every few weeks and then wonder why nothing compounds. Patience is hard because it feels passive. It does not provide the emotional thrill of immediate action. But Munger understood that time is one of the most powerful forces in the world. If you have made a good decision, patience gives that decision room to work. Patience is not laziness. It is not passivity. It is disciplined restraint. It is the ability to wait while value matures. It is the maturity to understand that forcing movement often destroys what time could have built. Many people want outcomes that only come from long periods of consistency, but they do not want to endure the quiet periods where nothing dramatic seems to be happening. Munger did. That is one reason he won so big. 3. Focus on high-quality businesses. One of Munger's most important contributions to investing was helping shift attention away from merely buying cheap assets and toward buying great businesses. A mediocre business can look statistically cheap and still disappoint for years. A high-quality business, on the other hand, has characteristics that quietly create long-term wealth: strong economics, durable demand, pricing power, good management, brand strength, and the ability to generate more cash over time. Munger understood that not all businesses are equal. Some are structurally weak. They require constant reinvestment, face brutal competition, or lack the power to defend margins. Others have built-in advantages that make life easier year after year. Those are the businesses that can compound wealth almost automatically. This is a very important success lesson beyond investing. In life, you want to attach yourself to high-quality systems. A weak system drains energy. A strong system multiplies effort. A weak business constantly needs rescuing. A strong business gives room for intelligent decisions to accumulate value. Munger's deeper point was that quality reduces friction. A great business does not require heroic effort every day just to survive. It can withstand shocks, absorb mistakes, and keep producing value. That resilience is what allows compounding to occur. Many people lose years chasing low-quality opportunities simply because they look cheap, easy, or exciting. Munger preferred fewer, better opportunities. He understood that quality often looks expensive in the short term, but proves cheap over the long run because it keeps delivering. 4. Think long-term. Munger's time horizon was one of his greatest advantages. While others obsessed over quarters, headlines, and short-term price moves, he looked years and decades ahead. Long-term thinking gives you a different lens. It changes what you value. Instead of asking whether something will impress people this month, you ask whether it will still make sense 10 years from now. Instead of chasing quick wins, you build positions that strengthen over time. The power of long-term thinking is that it aligns you with reality. Most meaningful things in life take time: trust, skill, reputation, wealth, relationships, wisdom, brand, strength, and mastery. Short-term thinking tempts people to sacrifice these durable assets for immediate gratification. In business, long-term thinking leads to better decisions about product quality, customer trust, capital allocation, and brand building. In personal life, it leads to better health habits, more careful relationships, and more disciplined use of money. In learning, it means accepting slow progress because you understand what expertise requires. Munger knew that the market often rewards appearances in the short term and substance in the long term. He preferred substance. He was willing to look wrong for a while if he believed the long-term reality was on his side. This requires emotional independence. Most people want immediate validation. They want to feel smart now. Long-term thinkers are willing to endure temporary discomfort for durable gain. They understand that time is not merely something to survive. Time is something to harness. 5. Use mental models from multiple disciplines. This is one of Munger's most famous ideas. He believed that people make poor decisions when they think from only one angle. Reality is too complex to be understood through a single lens. So he built what he called a lattice work of mental models drawn from many disciplines. That means learning big ideas from psychology, economics, mathematics, engineering, biology, history, physics, statistics, and human behavior. Each field provides tools for understanding how the world works. When you combine them, your judgment becomes sharper. For example, psychology helps you recognize bias and irrational behavior. Economics helps you understand incentives. Mathematics helps you think in probabilities. Biology helps you appreciate adaptation and competition. History helps you see recurring patterns. Engineering encourages respect for systems and failure points. Most people operate with narrow thinking. They may know one domain well, but then they over-apply that one framework to everything. Munger saw this as dangerous. If all you have is one tool, you start forcing every problem to fit it. The real world does not work that way. Business problems are never only financial. Human problems are never only logical. Success problems are never only motivational. Everything interacts. Incentives interact with psychology. Systems interact with culture. Decisions interact with probability. Munger's multidisciplinary approach made him unusually good at seeing what others missed. He was not simply memorizing facts. He was building a structure for better judgment. That is what made his mind so powerful. 6. Avoid debt and fragility. Munger had enormous respect for staying financially and structurally safe. He understood that many people do not fail because they lacked talent. They fail because they became fragile. Fragility means living in a way where a single shock can break you. Too much debt creates fragility. Overdependence on one income source creates fragility. Poor health creates fragility. Weak relationships create fragility. A business with no margin of safety is fragile. A person constantly stretched to the limit is fragile. Debt is especially dangerous because it removes flexibility. It turns ordinary pressure into crisis. It can force sales at the worst time, restrict decision-making, and make temporary setbacks fatal. Munger knew that survival is underrated. If you remain strong and solvent while others collapse, opportunity eventually comes to you. This is one of the deepest rules in all of success. Do not build a life that only works when everything goes perfectly. Build one that can absorb mistakes, delays, recessions, shocks, and human error. A resilient person can recover from bad luck. A fragile person cannot. A resilient business bends and adapts. A fragile one snaps. Munger wanted strength, not just upside. People are often attracted to leverage because it promises speed. But speed with fragility is dangerous. Munger preferred slower compounding with survival built in. That is why his success was durable. 1. Pate. He was not maximizing excitement. He was maximizing endurance. 7. Stay within your circle of competence. Munger understood that intelligence is not universal. Being smart in one area does not make you smart in every area. One of the most damaging things people do is operate with confidence outside their actual knowledge. A circle of competence is simply the area where you genuinely understand what is happening. It is where your judgment is informed, grounded, and reliable. Outside that circle, you are guessing, even if you sound confident. This rule matters because the world constantly rewards performative certainty. People pretend to know more than they do. They speak beyond their depth. They make decisions in areas they have not studied. Munger had no interest in that kind of ego. He preferred clarity about what he knew and what he did not know. That humility is powerful. Once you admit your limits, you make fewer reckless decisions. You become more selective. You wait for opportunities you actually understand. You stop confusing confidence with competence. In practical life, this means not investing in businesses you cannot explain simply. It means not pretending to understand industries because they are popular. It means not following trends just because everyone else seems enthusiastic. The deeper wisdom here is that success often comes more from disciplined selectivity than from wide ambition. Munger did not need to understand everything. He needed to identify the few things he understood well and act decisively there. That rule protects against many disasters. It does not make you small, it makes you accurate. 8. Invert problems to make better decisions. Munger loved inversion. Instead of always asking, "How do I succeed?" he often asked, "What would guarantee failure?" Then, he tried to avoid those things. This method is powerful because many problems become clearer when viewed backward. Success can feel abstract, but failure is often obvious. For example, if you want a strong marriage, one approach is to ask, what behaviors destroy marriages? If you want a good career, ask what habits reliably wreck careers. If you want to build wealth, ask what behaviors consistently keep people poor. Inversion simplifies complexity. It strips away fantasy and reveals the obvious dangers. That is why it is such a practical thinking tool. Instead of chasing a glamorous image of success, you identify the mistakes, weaknesses, and self-sabotaging patterns most likely to ruin your progress. Munger understood that life is full of asymmetry. One bad decision can destroy years of good decisions, so removing catastrophic error is often more valuable than searching for brilliance. Inversion helps do that. This is especially useful in business and investing. Before buying a company, ask what could permanently impair it. Before entering a partnership, ask what could make it fail. Before pursuing growth, ask what could make the structure brittle. Before chasing a new goal, ask what behaviors would almost certainly sabotage it. Inversion is one of the most practical rules you can teach because viewers can apply it immediately. It turns wisdom into a tool. 9. Learn constantly. Munger was famous for relentless learning. He read widely, thought deeply, and treated learning as a lifelong duty rather than a temporary phase. He did not believe wisdom arrived automatically with age or status. He believed it had to be earned continuously. This mattered because the world changes, and because the mind decays when it becomes complacent. A person who stops learning begins relying too heavily on old assumptions. Over time, that becomes dangerous. But Munger's learning was not shallow information collecting. He was not reading merely to know more facts. He was reading to improve judgment. He wanted deeper models, better pattern recognition, and wider understanding of reality. That is a very important distinction. Many people consume information for stimulation. Munger pursued knowledge that improved decision-making. He wanted learning that altered behavior. Continuous learning compounds in hidden ways. It makes future learning easier. It sharpens interpretation. It improves the quality of questions you ask. It helps you spot weak arguments, bad incentives, false narratives, and repeatable patterns. In the short term, learning can look unproductive because there is no immediate applause. But in the long term, It quietly upgrades everything: your work, your judgment, your communication, your investments, your relationships, and your ability to avoid costly error. Munger was dangerous intellectually because he kept compounding knowledge while others plateaued. 10. Let compounding do the work. This may be the deepest rule of all. Munger understood that extraordinary outcomes usually do not come from constant dramatic breakthroughs. They come from small advantages sustained for a long time. Compounding is not just about money. It applies to knowledge, reputation, trust, skill, relationships, habits, networks, and judgment. A person who improves slightly year after year can become unrecognizable from where they started, but only if they remain consistent long enough. Most people interrupt compounding. They quit too early. They change direction too often. They get impatient. They sabotage the boring period where nothing dramatic seems to happen. Munger knew that the early stage of compounding often looks unimpressive. That is why so few people stay with it. The genius of compounding is that results are delayed and then explosive. At first, the curve looks flat. Later, it becomes powerful. But to reach that stage, you must survive the part where progress feels invisible. Munger built his life around this truth. Read constantly, think better, avoid stupidity, stay patient, own quality, let time work. That combination is incredibly powerful because it stacks gains instead of resetting them. This is one of the reasons his philosophy feels so different from modern success culture. Modern culture wants dramatic transformation now. Munger respected quiet accumulation. He trusted process over spectacle. He knew that if the system is sound and the time horizon is long, the results can become extraordinary. The deeper message behind all 10 rules. What made Charlie Munger extraordinary was not one tactic, it was the interaction of these rules. Avoid stupidity and you preserve capital. Stay patient and you avoid self-inflicted damage. Choose quality and you improve the odds. Think long-term and you give good decisions time to mature. Use multiple mental models and you see reality more clearly. Avoid fragility and you survive shocks. Stay in your circle and you reduce reckless mistakes. Use inversion and you remove obvious paths to failure. Learn constantly and your judgment keeps improving. Let compounding work and the gains accumulate beyond what looks possible early on. That is how Munger built not just wealth, but durability. He did not chase noise. He built a framework. He did not rely on excitement. He relied on sound judgment. He did not need constant brilliance. He needed fewer, unforced errors. And over a lifetime, that difference became enormous.